so I can't hear. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Olivia, and today I thought I would give you the video explaining how I lost my hearing at 21 years old. I know what you're thinking. A 21-year-old woman in her prime not being able to hear? I know, I couldn't believe it either. But it turns out hearing loss in a 21-year-old woman is something that can happen. Who'd have thought it? Not me. Not me at all. But I just thought I would share my experience. It's a long ride, a bit of a weird one, but if you stick with me, you should get some answers soon. I set up a poll on my Instagram and you guys seem to really be keen to know what actually happened to me. So without further ado, I think we should just jump straight into it, otherwise we'll be here forever. So a brief bit of history about me. Both my parents actually wear hearing aids for different reasons. My dad has to wear a hearing aid, only one, because he lost his hearing aid due to working in the shipyards when he was a young man. Back in those days, ear defenders were not a thing, and he was exposed to lots of loud noises, so eventually over time his hearing just completely diminished. My mum has to wear one hearing aid as well. Her hearing, they think, is due to what was a small stroke many years ago, and she just lost hearing in her ear as well. So I'm the only person in my family to wear two hearing aids, as young as I am as well. Both my parents were in their 40s when they got hearing aids. So I first started noticing my hearing declining the beginning of my second year of university, so we're talking like September 2018. I noticed that there were things that people would point out that I should be hearing that I couldn't, or people would make a joke or a comment and I'd completely miss it because I just couldn't understand a word of what they were saying. I also noticed that I had to start putting subtitles on the TV. I could hear that people were making noise, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. At the time it didn't alarm me too much, I just thought maybe I had a bit of wax in my ear, and that eventually over time it would go. Skip forward to November 2018. This may seem random, but you need to remember this information because it's going to become very important in just a little bit. I was in my kitchen at uni, eating a fried egg sandwich, minding my own business, and all of a sudden I had an excruciating pain in my bottom tooth down here. I don't really suffer from toothache or too many tooth issues. I've never had a filling until recently, never had braces or anything like that. So for me, this tooth experience was new, and it turns out I'd actually cracked my tooth. So I booked an emergency appointment at the dentist. Yeah, they determined that the tooth had been cracked and they needed to take it out. And I was like, do you know what? Fair enough. I've gone 20 years of my life without having anything done to my teeth, so I'd consider myself fairly lucky. It wasn't until the dentist had said,
it's a very unusual place for you to crack your tooth. It's a strange place. I don't see it all that often at all, so it might be really difficult for us to take the tooth out. We might not be able to do it all in one, or it might take a lot longer.
To which I was like, oh God, okay, fine, whatever. Luckily, the man, the absolute legend that this dentist was, whipped it out 15 minutes flat.
Whipped it out.
No words. No words. But it was after he took my tooth out that he went a bit quiet and was just examining the tooth that he had just removed, whilst I was like there, like dribbling down my front. It's cool. He looked at the tooth and he said,
Did you ever have any illnesses as a child?
I was just like, no, not that I'm aware of. He's like,
Your tooth inside is very crumbly.
which is the rankest way to describe the inside of a tooth, if I have to say so myself.
And it leads me to believe that as a child you were very unwell.
I don't know, but I seem to be fine now. You know, obviously whatever it was isn't there anymore. I'm talking so fast. Okay, so after that he was just like, yeah, well, whatever, the tooth is out, you should be fine. I was like, thank you so much, I love the NHS. And then fast forward to Easter time of 2019, so maybe the March, so only a few months after this, I got a really bad ear infection in both of my ears, and both my ears completely blocked up. I didn't notice it until one morning at uni. I was sleeping in my then at the time boyfriend's bed. I was kind of shaken awake, and I was like, oh, sorry, what? He was saying to me, like miming. I couldn't hear a word he was saying, and at first I was like, why on earth is he miming? Like, we're not in an acting class right now, honey. But turns out he was saying fire alarm, because indeed the fire alarm had gone off in our halls, as it used to all the time. But I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear anything, because both my ears had completely blocked up with wax. But of course I didn't know this, so I panicked. Of course you would. You wake up and you're deaf. Like, of course you would freak out about that. So we phoned 111. So we went in, again, NHS are fantastic. They checked me over and the woman was like,
Yeah, basically, you've just got quite a bad ear infection in both ears. The wax has built up quite a lot in both of your ears. So essentially, you've got enough wax in your ear right now that it's like you're wearing two earplugs.
like, fantastic, just what I need. But it turns out that the glands in your ear that produce earwax actually become more active when you're stressed, which I never knew. And at that time, I was very stressed, so that makes a lot of sense. So all she did was just give me some olive oil drops to try and clear the wax in my ear, and then I was given some antibiotics and sent on my merry way. Aha, but the problems did only start from there. The ear infection begins to clear up, and at the time the nurses actually said when your ear infection clears up, it actually might be worth going to the doctors and getting your ear syringed to try and get rid of some of the built up wax within your ear. I'd never heard of what ear syringing was. Thought you just got a big old syringe and just sucked out. Completely wrong. If you thought that, I mean, it sounds pretty obvious, doesn't it? Basically, ear syringing, they shoot water at a fast intensity into your ear, and what it does is then it clears out the wax that way, so it's not super invasive in your ear. No one's poking about with things they shouldn't be. Ew. Anyway, I went to the doctors. They said they were only going to syringe one because the other one still looked a little bit red and inflamed, so they didn't want to touch it. And she was like, oh, I bet when this is over, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to be able to hear so much. Everything goes really well. It's like, right, well, that's you done now. So if you just want to head on home, and a happy hearing, basically. No, it was not happy hearing, because as I left the doctors, I left very confused and, if anything, a little disheartened, because my hearing had not improved at all, despite them removing all the wax that was in my ear. This is really gross. I'm really sorry if you're eating your dinner whilst watching this. At that point, I was like, something really isn't right. Second year finishes. I head home to Devon for the summer, where my family live, where I am now. I'm due a dentist appointment. This may seem random, but you need to remember this information because it's going to become very important in just a little bit. My dentist is amazing. She was checking up my teeth.
And she said, oh, you're missing a tooth down the bottom.
So after a bit of checking, she takes her hands out my mouth, does a bit of typing on her computer, and she's like,
have you ever heard of the term dentinogenesis imperfecta?
and I was like, honestly, can't say I have.
Because I think you might have it.
It's a genetic condition that affects people's teeth. Now, when I was a child, I had quite bad baby teeth. My baby teeth were pretty crumbly, not very nice. And she said a lot of people who suffer from dentinogenesis have very crumbly teeth. They, you know, their teeth easily break. We call them glass teeth because essentially what happens is there's a layer within your tooth that is missing, and therefore the tooth itself is weaker and more likely to break. This is very exciting for me. Apparently I'm a strange case. She said it's only really the stuff you see in textbooks as a dentist, and that you don't actually tend to see it in real life very much at all. But what effed me up the most was when she had said to me,
and what's most interesting about people with dentinogenesis imperfecta is that 50% of the people who suffer from it have hearing problems.
Hearing problems. 50% of the people who suffer from dentinogenesis imperfecta, which is, bearing in mind, 1 in 8,000 people, might I add, have hearing problems. I was like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. We're going to send you for a genetics test to check that you do in fact have dentinogenesis imperfecta. They're going to send you for a bone density test, which people who suffer from dentinogenesis often have breakages quite often in their bones because their bones are softer. And if any of you have ever known me, you all know how damn accident prone I am and how often I break a limb. Disgusting. And we're going to send you for a hearing test. And I could have cried. For a good while, I was pretty happy. She refers me to lots of different people. So I went back to uni in the September for my 3rd year, and in the October I had to come back home for my bone density test, which went fine. They were very happy with the density of my bones. And then I was awaiting a hearing test, which I still didn't hear anything from, and a genetics test. So the hearing test, I was waiting, and nothing really came through. And my hearing was getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where, like, I could function, but only just. It was really tough, actually. I don't want to go too much into it, but my thing is, you wouldn't want to walk around if you couldn't see. So why would you want to walk around if you can't hear? Do you know what I mean? So I think it was just during the Christmas holidays, I was like, do you know what? I'm sick of waiting around for this hearing appointment. I'm going to book my own. I went into Boots Hearing Care in Exeter, and they performed a hearing screening on me. And let me tell you, the results shocked me. So I don't know how many of you have actually had a hearing test. It was something I'd never had to have done until this moment in time. Basically, they just stick you in a little soundproof booth, whack some headphones on you, and they play high and low frequency tones in both of your ears separately. And every time you hear them, no matter how faint you hear them, you just have to press a button which indicates that you've heard it. I went in there thinking, do you know what, they might be a little bit below average, but I don't think it'll be anything too bad. So we performed the test, but it was when she spun round the graph results of my test that I was absolutely shocked. I'll put a little thing up here of what the test results were. You can see that the left ear is the blue and the right ear is the red. If you can see the left ear, your hearing should be kind of between the top band of the graph to be normal. And as you can see, my left ear was way below that, moderate to severe hearing loss, and the right was kind of mild to moderate hearing loss. So that made a lot more sense. Right, so what we need to do now is we need to refer you to an actual ear, nose and throat specialist, essentially tell us whether your hearing loss is nerve damage or if there's actually something within your ear that has gone wrong bone structure wise. I was told that I would be referred, and that was in January, and then lo and behold at the beginning of February I got a letter from Specsavers telling me that I was going to have another hearing consultation. I was like, fantastic. Obviously there was a little bit of confusion along the way, as when I got to Specsavers they were going to do another hearing test on me, to which I had to explain to the lady that I'd already had one, so she was confused as well. And so instead she performed a bone conduction test on me, kind of the same as the other test, but instead of headphones it's like a weird little metal headband. You have something that sits at the front of your head and something that sits at the back of your ear on the bone, and they play the frequencies through your head again, and it's just to test if there's anything wrong with the bones inside of your ear. And this is what interested me as well, is that she had said to me, potentially the reason why for some TV programs you have to have subtitles on is because your hearing relies heavily on the sound of consonants, so not your vowels but your consonants, to make out the sounds. She's like, do you find with American programs you struggle to hear? So yeah, it's not that I can't hear them, I just struggle to make out what they're saying. She goes, that's because in American accents they don't have a lot of strong consonants like us Brits do. That's probably why you struggle to hear them, because everything is very vowely and very soft. They have no kind of hard T's or D's or anything like that. So go back to the doctors, get a hearing referral, and the first one they could give me was July, which is fantastic because at that point it was March. So at this point I'm phoning my mum and I'm like, what do I do? I'm in tears. I've had so many struggles with my hearing at this point. I just want it fixed. I don't feel normal anymore. I can't act like a normal 21-year-old at this point because my hearing is so bad. I'm a laughing stock amongst all my friends. What do I do? And I mean, I'm so fortunate enough that my parents had ended up saying, well, in which case, if you can't get anything until July and this is really, really affecting your quality of life, we'll look into going private. And at first I was like, no, like I feel so bad. Private is so expensive. But we ended up booking an appointment with a really nice man at the Nuffield Health Centre in Exeter, and that was due to happen on the 23rd of March 2020. Can you also tell me what happened on the 23rd of March 2020? Lockdown. The UK went into lockdown, therefore my appointment was cancelled. I didn't get to see my ear, nose and throat specialist after all. I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. Of course it was absolutely for the best. I wouldn't want to go into a hospital, you know, and potentially catch anything and give it to my family. But equally, I think you can understand, after all that I'd been through, this just felt like, you know, another fall down in the marathon that was getting my hearing sorted. Lockdown passes, things start to ease up again, and I get a call from my hearing consultant's EA, and she says he's actually taking appointments again. Would you like to come in? Assessed my hearing again. I had another hearing test. I had another bone conduction test, and he was actually amazed at how well I was functioning despite the amount of hearing loss I had had. He said if he'd woken up with the hearing loss I'd had overnight, he would be rushing to A&E claiming that he had gone deaf. So that really proved that something wasn't quite right at all. So finally, he gives me the go-ahead that I need hearing aids, which is all I needed to hear. Quite literally. That's all I needed someone to tell me, is that yes, you need hearing aids, here's where you can go and get them. So he explained that we could get them done on the NHS, which again, amazing. At this point I wanted nothing more than just to be normal. So actually ended up looking at Boots. Back to Boots again. They could actually offer us a finance plan so that we could pay monthly for a certain amount of time. So 2 weeks ago I ended up going for a hearing aid consultation with a really nice lady. She asked me some questions about my lifestyle, and from that she was able to pick the best pair of hearing aids for my lifestyle, which is amazing, incredible. I mean, super intelligent woman, a queen. So in the end I ended up going for the Audio Nova T70s standards, I believe they're called. I'm going to put in a little insert of what they look like. They're amazing. They are brilliant. They actually are Bluetooth, which is so cool. So they can Bluetooth to my devices and I can listen to music, I can take calls, I can watch films and videos. Basically like a super cool pair of AirPods. I've had them for about a week now, just under a week, and I've loved it. It's been incredible, you know, completely life-changing. And yeah, so I'll put in some pictures about what they look like. They're very nice. They're so discreet. You can barely see them. So you could either go for in-ear ones or behind the ears. I would preferably gone for in-ears, but ears actually very small, and they didn't have any in-ear sizes that were small enough for my ears. And she said that for me, it might be better just to go over the ear. So what happens is the bigger bit of it that you see, that sits behind my ear, and then the wire comes over the front of my ear, and then it sits in my ear with a little earplug, and I just switch them on and I can hear. It's fantastic. 10 out of 10, will recommend hearing aids to anyone. With your hearing aids, they do give you some things. Keep them working properly, keep them maintained, clean. I thought I would just show you some. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is my hearing aid haul. Thumbnail. In my hearing aid pack, I received is batteries. These are what the batteries look like. They're super easy to change. Again, I'll put a little clip as to where the batteries go and all that jazz. But yeah, and they're really cheap as well. So batteries. So then they gave me more of the plugs. So these go like on the end of the hearing aid, and this is what sits in my ear. It's good just to have some spare ones. They look like little boobies. So there you go. You also get small little brushes like these. These are the Morphe 256. These are little brushes that you brush the microphones on the back of your ears with. If the microphone gets blocked, you ain't gonna hear a goddamn thing. So it's good to have these just to keep it all clean and operating as it should, because if a hearing aid is not working, what is the point of said hearing aid? And then I also just got a cute little case to pop them in at night. This is the one for my Audio Nova brand, however she gave me this one, which is a Phonak one, just because it's cuter, because it's kind of gold and nice. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Hello? I believe in terms of my hearing story, you're all caught up, but it's been such a long time coming for me to be able to hear, and I am truly aware of the privilege I have to be able to afford these kind of things. You know, if your hearing isn't right, just get it checked. You know, don't treat it any differently to how you would your eyes. If you notice that you can't hear things as much as you'd like, check it out. Thanks so much for sticking around and hearing my little tale. Keep it groovy, keep it funky fresh. I need to stop that because I can't ever do outro for videos because I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, don't take your hearing for granted, because if you can't hear, then there's no point doing anything. Okay, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, bye!